Welcome to the Lost Boys, the Found Fathers podcast. I'm Gabriel O'Sullivan, and joining me is my co-host and friend, Will Haycox. We are men who have suffered the loss of a child, and through this production, we desire to offer encouragement, strength, and hope to our fellow brothers who have traveled the same journey.
Welcome, Will.
Good morning.
So we are going to be doing a little bit of a timely story today, or not story, but a show today, I guess I should say.
They're all stories, right?
Yeah, they're all stories. So, and the title of today's is Lead Them from Chaos to Christ. So, why don't you introduce this for us, Will?
Yeah, appreciate that, Gabe. So the idea, I was joking with Gabe, like if you go back and listen to our last Christmas stuff, it's probably similar, but there's a lot of good lessons to be learned and reflected on from year to year. Basically the idea is like everyone in America probably knows Christmas season gets busy. It gets crazy fast. You go from, it feels like, especially if you have kids, you go from Thanksgiving to Christmas in what feels like a week and a half. Like I don't know what your family's like, but I grew up where on Thanksgiving we would all eat and then we would come back over on Friday for Black Friday. And I mean, that's not even true. It might have been on Thanksgiving Day, but there would be all the magazines, all the Macy's and JCPenney and Toys R Us and all this different stuff. And the whole dinner table after we eat and we'd clear everything off would be magazines. And my grandmother, my mother, my aunt, an uncle, and everybody would basically be like, all right, kids, here you go. Pick what you want. And we would go through and we would circle things we were interested in. And then I think it was on Thanksgiving. So on Black Friday, they would all be out shopping.
Oh, wow.
And that's really not related, but just the idea, like, that's kind of, and I lived in a family, I'm not saying they're all like super materially based or whatever, like it was just, we finish Thanksgiving and it's like on to Christmas. Yeah. There you go.
It's like the Dude Perfect stereotype. Yeah. If you hadn't watched one of those, the Thanksgiving stereotypes, and it's like as soon as the dude finishes his last bite of food, then everybody's like throwing stuff off the table, and it's like, let's go, start setting up Christmas.
So all that to say, bringing it back in quick, like that's what I feel like our country does. And it feels like, maybe I'm getting older and more perspective and more nostalgic or whatever, but it feels like we're getting more and more into that every year. Not even my family, just like the whole society, my sphere that I'm in and I hear about, I think of is, we just get so much into the chaos of the Christmas season, the holiday season, from Thanksgiving all the way through New Year's. And it's about, who can I travel and go see? What gifts am I getting for my spouse, my parents, my grandparents, my kids, my grandkids, my friends, my cousins, my uncles, like it becomes so much about, I've got to be at all the parties, be at all the things, send out Christmas cards, which we haven't done. Sorry for all our friends. Gabe, I would send you one if I could, but that's just not a thing we do. But just all of that stuff, from sending out Christmas cards to buying gifts to traveling to see family to doing church events to everything. And you really get to the point, if you're not careful, where you're just kind of ready for Christmas season to be over, because, we can go back to January and we can start back into our normal lives, our normal routines. We don't have people coming to see us. We don't have to go see anyone. And you can really not even let it pass by you, but you can just like intentionally hope, wish it was over. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not focusing on Christ, not focusing on a reason for the season. I'm focusing on, gosh, can this be over and things can be normal? Can the kids go back to school? Which my kids are too young for that, but I understand, like winter breaks, crazy, they're home. So all that to say, kind of what we just want to encourage guys with today is take advantage of the Christmas season and don't just let the culture set the tone. Don't follow along, don't watch your 3 Christmas movies that your family always watches. Go shopping, go to all the events, breeze through the season, and not take advantage of it. And what I mean there is like what you said with the title, leading your family from chaos to Christ. Instead of allowing our family to be overwhelmed and overcome with the craziness, let's be intentional. Like we say a lot of times on the podcast, be intentional with our time, be intentional with how we're leading our family, and make sure that, again, we're taking advantage of the time. We're taking advantage of the season to leverage that, to teach our kids about Christ, to teach our kids about who Christ is and who Christ has called us to be and to love others, grow in the fruit of the Spirit. And, ultimately, as we remember Christ, we want to leverage that to teach our kids about him. And if they're not already believers, hope they become believers. If they are, we want to strengthen their faith. We want to give them an opportunity to share their faith with others. And so I got several points here, and we'll try to get through them all in the next couple episodes. But just the overall theme is, don't let Christmas happen to you and let it be over fast. But, you be intentional about how you spend your time and how you love your family through this whole holiday season.
Yeah, I can see the danger of what you're saying, and letting it get by without even focusing on the real meaning of it, for sure. And not, I'd say we started out strong, like December 1st, like our church did like the Advent devotions, like one a week. December 1st, man, we sat down with the family, did the devotions a lot. Then next week, something happened. It got busy, like Sunday, we didn't do it, and now we're into the third week of December. And so I'm like, okay, I got 2 to catch up on, like I need to do, like, because I missed last week completely. It was like, like you said, it's busy with sports, it's busy with the homework, it's busy with just life and work and other stuff. And then, it's like every night was just like late, and you just didn't get to sit there and focus. And so, hopefully this next week won't be, as crazy, and we'll be able to have some time to actually enjoy, the time, because the kids get out of school kind of late, and then it's like you got 5 days till Christmas. You got to fit it all in, like you say, to watch all your movies and whatever, like, and do all that stuff in a few days. So so you mentioned you dated yourself a little bit, man. Like, I thought you would have not even had magazines. I would have thought you didn't even know what a magazine was.
Hey, I'm an old 33, put it that way. I'm an old soul, yeah.
So I grew up looking at the Sears catalog. So Sears is like out of business now. I mean, I think they still have online store, but they don't have like physical, brick and mortar locations anymore. But that was the thing, man, for me, the Sears catalog and the JCPenney catalog, dude. And I just remember particularly going to, like, they had a section where it would be like all the NFL like uniforms that you could buy, for the kid, man. And I just always was like, oh man, I want they would have the Bears, number 34, Walter Payton, and
the Bears.
Yes, absolutely. So I was always wanting to, Joe Montana's, like 49ers uniform and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's the stuff, man. I just stayed on that page, like looking at that. But kind of, I would say too, like, that was a fun memory that you mentioned. It kind of made me think of that too. Like, any other things that, like, about the Christmas season that you remember as a kid that really sticks out to you, that you're even maybe trying to implement with your kids now, or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of them, and I'll maybe get a little more into it as we get down into this part about, establishing traditions for your family.
Okay.
But I think, one thing was just my parents were always intentional about making sure we did something together, like on Christmas Eve. And kind of our routine was, we would go to Christmas Eve service, and we were faithful attenders of a church, pretty much my entire life, dedicated and raised in a church.
Yeah.
But I can't really remember if we really ever went to the Christmas Eve service there. Like, we probably did when I was real little, 2, 3, 4. But my parents had a cool tradition of going to a different church's Christmas Eve service, even to the point of, like, totally different denominations. It was most of the time it was different denominations.
Okay.
We would do, Anglican or Methodist, or we grew up Baptist, so we do Methodist, Catholic, Episcopalian. We just went to different churches in the county, and it was really neat. I don't think I appreciated it. Some years I didn't appreciate it. I was just like, this is a weird church. I just want to be done. Yeah. But it was really neat reflecting back. Not that I remember everything that was said at all, but thinking over, how my parents were intentional about exposing us to some, not just new experiences, but different ways that people worship Christ and celebrate the Christmas season. And, we grew up as Baptists. We didn't really celebrate. I didn't know what an Advent candle was. I didn't know anything about the Eucharist. I didn't know anything about, if you ever been in a Catholic or an Anglican church, they've got like pink and purple and white candles. Right. And I didn't know anything about that. And so it was kind of neat. Not even that I learned it then, but as I grew older, seeing like, hey, these are different ways people celebrate Christmas, and they're all focused on Christ. And so it was kind of like seeing some, we're again reflecting on it. I wouldn't have put it into words then, but like seeing the unity in the body of Christ, that, you know, we can be so divided, and we can look at Catholics or Episcopalians or whoever and be like, you know, they're way over there. And, you know, maybe they are, but
they look at us the same way.
And they're like, you know, you weirdos, you know? So yeah, I mean, we can look at each other and point fingers, but it's really neat to see that at least at Christmas time, you know, everyone's worshiping in ultimately the same way. There's certainly different, you know, different ways, different things they dress in and all that. But yeah, something that was really neat, just like kind of how my parents established a Christmas Eve tradition that I think was pretty unique. And there's more to that. What we did later in the night, I'll share again. But yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of hinting around at it. So I'll just go into that first point. Just really, and this is an overriding point for the whole series, or, you know, be a couple episodes here, just the importance of keeping Christ at the center of Christmas. And that sounds elementary. Like everybody says that. You probably, you know,
see a bumper sticker.
Yeah, I was going to say like your brothers, aunts, cousins, you know, whoever, like you just think of like the most random person in your family, and they're probably the one that says good vibes and love you and all that, but they'll still send like, keep Christ at the center, you know. And it's a very, like you said, it's a bumper sticker phrase almost these days, and you can just breathe past it so quickly. But, you know, I just picked, you know, Matthew 1:21, which says, you know, she will bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. And there's certainly many more verses that could, you know, discuss Christ in the Christmas story. But I just was focusing on, you know, that second part. It says, for he will save his people from their sins. And obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably know a little bit about Jesus, but he didn't come so we could get presents. He didn't come so we could go to Christmas parties with our work friends, or, you know, with our family, and be kind to them, and you know, hang out and eat some good food. Like, he came to save us from our sins. And that's the reason we celebrate, you know, whether you want to, I see people every year argue about, you know, December 25th wasn't when Jesus was born, you know, it's on a Roman holiday, and, oh, y'all are worshiping on pagan days. And like, oh, actually, I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist. I want to have that conversation, you know, like, I think that's important to know where things come from. But that's focusing your attention on, let's poke holes in the celebration, you know, like, let's be critical, or let's, you know, let's get into the minutia of how things are done. And instead of doing that, let's get into who are we celebrating and why are we celebrating Christmas? And it's Christmas, Christmas. And so it's, I'm not going to get into the etymology of that because I don't know it, but
the idea, it's kind of simple, you know. I mean, it's just Mass, right? The Catholic Church service, right? And then Christ, right? Well, so it's the Mass about Christ. Yeah, I think I learned that from VeggieTales. Really? Actually.
Well, you sounded very intellectual for a second, and now you don't. So dude, we're going to delete that part. So if y'all watch it,
Hey, the things you can learn from VeggieTales, that's good.
But, you know, I'll just get on to the next point, and I'll let you, you know, jump in here. But, you know, there's a bunch of different ways we can keep Christ at the center of Christmas. And I think, you know, just throwing out some ideas here, you know, making sure you're intentional. You already shared, you know, about devotional, just being intentional, whether it's something that you create or your church creates. Our church, it has the ability to create a decent amount of content and get it out there and make it available to people in and outside the church. And if you're interested in that, you know, we go to Church at the Mill. You can look that up, or you can, get in touch with us and we can share that information with you. But, you know, whether you're, you know, depending on your faith, whether you're lighting Advent candles, whether you're doing an Advent calendar, we're doing a Bluey Advent calendar for my daughter. So it's really not at all Christian, but it's still a chance to, you know, talk about things and moving closer to Christmas. But she gets these little figurines every day.
That's amazing. And my mother-in-law bought me not a Bluey one, but it's the house from A Christmas Story. And every day, I'm going to show it to you before we leave. Every day you open up and it's a different figurine of something related to the,
that's cool.
Like the flagpole, the leg lamp, like the box the leg lamp came in. It's the most amazing thing.
That's pretty cool.
Every day I'm so excited. And I got a chocolate one too. I got a chocolate one separate because my wife was buying them for the kids. And I was like, you know, Daddy likes chocolate too. So don't not spend $4 on me.
Discriminate. Yeah. Let's all get some chocolate.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think at the idea is like at the bare minimum, take some time to read the nativity story. Like, you know, you can go through and you can read that real quickly and not make it a big deal. But I think we talk a lot in this podcast about like starting small, or, you know, just making some effort that, you know, we're not telling you guys, and we certainly aren't perfect, but we're not telling you guys, if you don't do these 14 things, you're a terrible father and you're a terrible husband. You know, you might be not the greatest father or husband right now, but you can be a little bit better tomorrow than you were yesterday. And you can be a little bit better today than you were yesterday. And so, you know, starting somewhere, we're not trying to cast any stones. We're just encouraging you, like, basically help your family see in whatever way, you know, would work best for, you know, your family, your son, your daughter, your wife, that the Christmas season is about Christ, and let's put him at the center. And if we have time to go to all these other parties, if we have time to, you know, watch these 15 Christmas movies that we all love and all that, that's great. And as long as we're, you know, we can watch something about Santa Claus. And then I've got a 4-year-old, and she's almost 4. She asks questions. And, you know, if she asks a question about, you know, who's Santa Claus or what is this, you know, like, I don't have to like shoehorn Christ into that conversation, but, you know, we could talk about, you know, Santa Claus is, you know, a tradition that was created in, I guess, Germany or something. And, you know, essentially he comes out of the spirit of giving. And, you know, where does that come from? Is, you know, we just talked about Christ came in that verse, he will save people from his sins. So he gave us love. He gave us mercy. He gave us grace. He gave us something that we not only didn't deserve, but we were actively his enemies when he came and lived and died for us. And so it's easy to get, I say easy, but it's something that if you're intentional about it, it's something you can gather really any sort of information or any sort of Christmas celebration, and you could point it back to like, why are we doing this? What's the heart behind it?
Which is why the church originally set up Christmas to be celebrated on this pagan holiday, as you said, whatever that is, you know. And same thing with Easter. It was like to take what the culture was already doing and kind of like take it back and be like, hey, you know what? We're going to use this time that you're celebrating something else, and we're going to like hijack that basically in a good way and point people back to Christ, you know, at this time of the year. And so it was intentionally done to point people back to Christ, you know, at Christmas, at Easter. And I like what you said there about like not having to, you know, I always think about, you know, obviously we're not trying to keep Christmas so materialized, right? And not make it about just buying gifts and presents and parties and blah, blah, blah. But I always think about the church lady, Dana Carvey, the Saturday Night Live skit. I don't know if you ever saw that one growing up.
I think I have for a while.
And he would, you know, he would be like, well, if you take the letters from Santa and switch them around, what do you get? Satan. You know? So I always think there's people like that, right? But the flip side is that no, like we recognize like, okay, we're, again, like you said, we're celebrating God giving us the greatest gift in Christ. And so then we give gifts undeservingly to others as well, because, you know, we tell, oh, kids, you gotta be good for goodness sake and all stuff. No, you don't. Like your kids are going to be bad. They're going to be bad on Christmas Eve. They're going to probably get, you know, disciplined, but you're still going to give them presents on Christmas Day because they're your kid. You love them and they don't deserve it. You know, Christmas isn't about getting something we deserve, because we don't deserve Christ. Like we don't deserve forgiveness, right? So God has given us this gift undeservedly, and so that's where kind of that whole tradition comes from. Also, VeggieTales. You're interested out there, you know, world of internet world. Go get the VeggieTales Christmas story about Saint Nicholas. It's an amazing little story about how we got to Saint Nicholas and how that came to be Santa Claus and all that stuff. It's funny. It's great. I'm obviously a big VeggieTales guy.
Yeah, I mean,
I got
slightly derailed, but I think it's funny. It's a funny story, and points back to what you said. You said, you know, excuse me. You said, you know, we're not, you know, kids are going to disobey on Christmas and stuff like that. And it reminded me, the year, I don't know how old we were, like 10-ish, something like that. We got an Xbox for Christmas when the first Xbox came out.
Cool.
And it was like, we've been asking for it for a while. My parents had kind of been telling us, like, you know, whatever you get at Christmas, you know, you need to share it with your brothers. And I got 2 little brothers. And I remember very vividly, we got the Xbox and we probably each got like a game or 2. And it was immediately like all the other gifts were cool, but it was the Xbox.
Oh, sure.
And so we took it and we set it up, and it was immediately an argument over who was going to play first, how long we were going to play. And I think my parents like picked one of us, said, you can play first. But then it was like this huge thing. Like I was supposed to play 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and I played like 31, and we got into an argument. We yelled at each other. And so there was no more Xbox for like a week. And so it was like, we were just jerk kids that were like, and kids are kids, but we were just like, all right, thanks parents for spending, I don't know, at that time, probably $300-400. And that was early 2000s. It wasn't cheap.
Yeah.
And so we, instead of being thankful and like, yes, mother and father, we will sit back here and I will watch my brother play and I will rejoice in this, in the heart of Christmas and the gratitude. It was, I want what I want and I want it now. I don't care about my brother and sharing with my brother. And so that's a tangent, but also, tying it back to what you said, my parents didn't give us those gifts because they knew we were mature enough to use them perfectly, or that, like, you have been a perfect child this Christmas. We're going to spend this money on you. Yeah. It's, I know you're flawed as a growing child. You don't have all the self-control and the love and the patience, but still, we love you. We're going to give you a good gift and celebrate the season together. And so, like I said, tangent, I just thought it was a funny story. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the heart behind it is Jesus gave us gifts we didn't deserve. And we're modeling that. We should be modeling that, not just, buying all these gifts out of obligation that you have to give everybody something, but you put a little bit of thought into, who is this person? Who is Gabe? What does Gabe do at this time? What can I do to give Gabe something that blesses him? And whether it's a $3 gift or $300 gift, like just the idea would be, I love him. I want to take care of him. I want to provide something. And here you go. Maybe you get a little bit of joy out of it. And so I think that's the big thing there that we can focus on is just the heart behind it rather than the chaos in getting there.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I always do this first episode. I always have some junk in my throat.
That's all right.
So going from there, we're talking about, showing your family selfless service. And so the idea is to model serving others through Christmas. And that's a way to, push back against wanting or believing that Christmas is all about you. And Christmas is all about you getting the gift that you want or, whatever, getting your way. And so I just used, Mark 10:45, which says, for even the Son of Man, which is Jesus, came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many, or to redeem many or save many, whatever your translation says there. So the idea is, working from the greater to the lesser. If Christ, the greatest man ever born, I know he was God and man, didn't come with all of his power, with all of his, his pedigree as the Son of God, and walk onto the earth and say, all right, all of you worship me now, then how are we obviously don't, or hopefully most of us don't have this idea people should worship us and just defer in every way to us. But we act like that a lot, don't we? At work, this person got a promotion faster than I did, and, I'm better than them. So what's the deal here? They must not know who I am. And there's these different ways that even if we're not outright thinking it, we act as if we're owed whatever, the in-laws coming to us instead of us going to them, or, this Christmas party, whether it's at your work or wherever it is, like if it's not convenient for us, then we're going to have a terrible attitude about it. And it's, it's just like, that's a very selfish mindset that I think we get into easily. And, talk about the commercialization of Christmas, and I won't get into all that, but just the idea that we are told through media and everything else that Christmas is all about getting, and getting your way, getting your gift. And instead of that, let's focus on helping our families see that, again, we're talking about the story behind Christmas. Christmas is celebrated because Christ came and gave us the ultimate gift that we just talked about. We don't deserve, we couldn't earn. And so let's, as a leader of our homes, focus on loving and leading our family through service, and allowing them to see a model of Christ in that. And so I just threw several ideas. It could be, anything from, helping with your chores, helping make some meals, clean up after your kids. Even if, they're supposed to clean up, you can love them and serve them through that. Not to mean you take away their responsibility, but you can love and serve them to do that. Watch Christmas movies that are special to people in your family. Really just taking time to listen and to, we talk about the chaos of the Christmas season. Instead of making everything go, 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 take some time to sit back and just enjoy an evening with the family. Whether maybe you don't watch a movie, you just make some hot chocolate and play a board game or something, make a puzzle, whatever it is you do. You're serving your family well by creating a space where they can enjoy time with each other and not, be in our phones or watching a screen or traveling throughout the county to different parties or to see different family. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of things we can do there.
And maybe even something as simple as like, if your wife is the primary gift buyer and gift wrapper, then you, like you said, you talk about helping with chores, like you make sure that you're like, hey, okay, I know you need to do this. What can I do like to help out? Or you just know like, oh, I need to make dinner, or I need to go to the grocery store, or I need to clean up the kitchen, or like do laundry or whatever, like looking for extra ways, to do, to pitch in and to be a help, and to be intentional, even around the home, I think is a good idea. But I love what you said about making meals, making cookies, taking it to people. We're not good at that. I mean, I'm just honestly, like I should be, better at that for sure, but I'm not. And I need to, you saying that's kind of challenging me to like, just do it like at least once, this season, like do something. I always say I'm not like probably my wife and kids, like, cause I guess in the years past, like I've been at work and I'm like, what are you doing? We're making cookies. We're going to take them to X, Y, Z, shut in person or whatever, or grandparent or whatever the case may be. But I personally have not been involved with that, and so I would like to, I think you're challenging me to make time to do that this year.
Yeah. And you mentioned that, like, that's something that my wife has done a few times in the past. And as we've had kids in the last 4 or 5 years, it's gotten a little, obviously it's harder for her to just pick a plan and stick to it when you got a 2-year-old or 3-year-old running around. But she's done that multiple times. She comes from a Hispanic background, and I think they call it pan de polvo, is like I think it literally translates to like sweet bread or something. I don't know. So she'll probably listen to this at some point and tell me that's not what it is. But I think pan is bread. I don't know what polvo is, but it's just like little tiny, yes, pollo. No, probably not. Bread of chicken. No, she's really gonna get mad about that.
Breaded chicken.
Sorry.
She goes to Zaxby's.
She makes breaded chicken.
She goes to Chick-fil-A, Zaxby's, Bojangles, and gets some chicken fingers and takes them. She's like, "This is
here you go.
This is the Latino version."
I made these.
Yeah. Like, no, I'm pretty sure it's a chicken supreme.
I'm pretty sure I had one of those yesterday.
That's bow sauce. Like you brought that. That is not. You didn't make that.
But she would make. She'd make these little cookies, and they're tiny little things. They're like the size of a nickel or something, and she would just make them, and she'd take them. We used to have an elderly neighbor who recently passed away, and my wife would be very intentional about making cookies or something and taking it to her. And she'd buy these little fancy Christmas tins and stuff like that and take them to them and our other neighbors. We lived in a small neighborhood before we moved. But it's something, like you say, that I think my wife does a lot better at than I do. And, maybe easier for us. And I'm not speaking to all the men out there, because I'm sure lots of you know how to cook and do a great job. Maybe you're the primary food prepper for your family, but I'm not. My wife takes care of that. And so I don't even really think about that at all as like a way to serve others, but maybe more in our realm is like leading your family and serving in the community, whether that's, we've talked about it multiple times, but like we have local ministries like Miracle Hill Ministries, that provides food and housing. There's local homeless shelters. There's, Samaritan's Purse. There's, I don't even know if Angel Tree exists anymore, but like there's, I think PS I Love You does a, like a, I don't know what you would call it, like adopt a child for Christmas, where you're providing a stocking or, a present or something for what may be an underprivileged child, or just, a child going through a tough situation. And so I think that's maybe something
DSS
easier.
does that too.
Really? Okay. So I'm sure, whatever your context is, if you spend a little bit of time researching, and I don't even know, like type in Christmas toy drives or something, like the simplest thing you can do.
Right.
I think it would be very easy to find that. And, if you're a man, you're goal oriented, you're trying to, accomplish a task, make this a task. Like, I'm going to find one way this Christmas season to get my family involved in X ministry, and, go and to lead your kids in that. And, it could be as simple as maybe you got a family member who, is say shut in, you mentioned a minute ago, maybe you have an older family member who isn't maybe a shut in, but they can't take care of their home the way they used to. And just find a time and go over with your family to help them put out Christmas lights. If it brings them, a little bit of joy to have Christmas lights up, but they can't do it themselves anymore, or, help them clean their house, help them wash their dishes and clean out their gutters, like anything you can do. And maybe outside work's not going to be great when it's 20, 30, 40 degrees, but it's very easy to find a way to serve people if you put a little bit of effort into thinking through it.
That's good.
So I think that's an easy way to just kind of model to your family, this is what Christmas season's about, is loving and serving and giving to others.
That's great.
And I want to jump into one more here before we get off for this episode.
Let's go, man.
We kind of already talked about, keeping Christ at the center of Christmas. And this one is just prioritizing family time and quality family time. And so the idea here is, or comes from Ephesians 5, 15, 16. I use, look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. And so the idea there is like two parts of it, walking not as unwise, but as wise, and then making the best use of the time. And so just kind of going off of everything we've been talking about, how crazy and overwhelming the Christmas season can be, you as the husband and the father should be the one that sets boundaries around your time at Christmas. That, not to say, you tell your wife, no, don't schedule anything, I'm in charge of that. We're not trying to create this domineering relationship, or, tell you order your family around. But the idea is, like, as God protects the family as a whole and, provides leadership for you as the husband, you're providing leadership for your family and for your wife. And you're providing them some safety and being the one that they can turn to when there's a hard decision that needs to be made. And so kind of the idea there is, we get so busy in the Christmas season, it's easy to just go with the flow. And I'm certainly guilty of this. Just let your wife maybe field there's a party on Saturday and now there's another one on Wednesday and there's a church thing here on Sunday. And, just get into that, okay, we're going to do whatever comes up routine. And we do the same thing throughout the year. My kids aren't quite to the age, but I know, there'll be soccer season or basketball season or baseball season or drama club. And there's all these different things you can do. And you just fill your time to the point that now you're not enjoying any of it. And you're just like, all right, I want this to be over. So the idea is we don't want to do that with Christmas. It's a, month and a half long season from Thanksgiving to New Year's. So instead of just like riding it out and hanging on by the skin of your teeth, we need to be more intentional with our time, because when we're getting busy, we have less patience for each other. We have less intentionality about doing what we're doing well, or doing it with a heart of service, or, showing love through it. It's, all right, I got a party tonight and I got to take my kids to see Christmas lights tomorrow. And I got to go to the gym because I'm about to get real fat through Christmas season, like all of this stuff. And so the idea is when you get so busy, have less patience, less time to focus on the Lord, your heart ends up in a bad place. And that's a terrible example for your kids and for your wife, that, if you're just hanging on through the Christmas season, they're going to see that. And, you can put up a good face and, play the perfect dad game, play the perfect Christian game. I'm sure a lot of us have played that at different times, but your kids are smart. Like my oldest is almost 4, and she already like picks up, she'll hang out with friends for 30 minutes and she'll come back saying something they've said. And it's not cuss words yet at this age, but like she started saying, oh my God, a little while ago. And it's like, you're not 4. Where'd you get that? And so it's like all that to say, they'll see how you're carrying yourself and how you're speaking to your wife and how you're, patient or impatient with them. And they'll internalize that and they'll see like, okay, daddy doesn't really enjoy Christmas. And it takes away a little bit of the joy, and maybe not when they're 2 or 3 or 4, but probably by the time they're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they're starting to really put together a picture of this is a year over year pattern that dad, mom get crazy stressed and Christmas season is nuts and they're shopping and they're doing all this and they don't have any time for us, or there's no time for the family to get together. And so I'll let you jump in, but the idea here is just like set boundaries around your family that you as a father, your first responsibility, your first relationship should be with the Lord. Your second should be with your wife to create a stable and safe marriage, a loving marriage, and a good model to your kids. And then the third is not work or friends or whatever, it's your kids. And so this idea of protecting your kids, protecting time with your kids while they're young, and maybe they're not young and there's something you haven't done well, you could still do it now. Just plan a game night. Watch a Christmas movie together. That's not just let's all veg out and look at our phones while we're watching the movie, but let's cuddle together, get a blanket over the couch. We're going to do something fun and enjoy it. Doing a Bible study. We already talked about this, but maybe your kids get a little older. You task them with leading something. Like here's the verse. I want you to just read this for our family and let's talk about it. And so, just being intentional. I know we say that a lot, but I think the best way to put it, even though we've said it, is like, don't let Christmas happen to you, happen to the season, happen to it by coming out with a plan. And, like, what is it, Mike Tyson, you say, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. I think Christmas season punches you in the mouth about like maybe Black Friday, like the first day of quote Christmas season is like, all right, you ready? Buy all this stuff. Yeah. You're not done? All right, here's Cyber Monday, buy more stuff. Yeah. They're probably going to spend a ton of stuff Tuesday. Like it's all going to be like, it's always going to be something.
Giving Tuesday.
Giving Tuesday, yeah. You got to buy stuff to give. So I guess they still win.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's the idea there. It's just like setting a boundary around your family and your family's time. And yes, it's good to go out and do all these other things. But if you're doing and you're going so much that your family doesn't get to enjoy Christmas, your kids might grow up and you realize like, we don't have any family traditions. We didn't do anything intentionally together. We just went to all the events that someone else planned and scheduled. And then Christmas was over, like we had Christmas morning, Christmas after Christmas night, and on to New Year's.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think like you said, protecting that time is important. Like I'm really bad about like not wanting there to be any holes in a schedule. Like I look at my day to day and I just, like I had this, we got little one's basketball practice and then nothing. And so I immediately started going to, okay, good. I need to go to my office and like clean the dust, like dust the baseboards and cause they need it. And I really need to like wash the front door and get in like,
type A personality.
Like paint some stuff and like, whatever. And, last night I was thinking like, oh great, I'm going to be able to go over there and do that all day tomorrow. I'm just going to work over there and like work on like maintenance stuff, and I would say cleaning probably more than maintenance. Cause me, I'm not maintenance in my jam.
You're maintaining the baseboards.
It's not my giftedness. Yeah. And clean some stuff, but I'm not really going to maintain it. I have to hire guys like you that know how to do that kind of stuff. But, but then like, it was, it's like my wife kind of gave me the eye corner. I was like, really? Like this time isn't busy enough and you're going to go spend all day over there. Like, why don't you enjoy the day with your family around Christmas and not think you have to fit it into everything right there. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to not go do that.
My wife's smarter than me.
Yeah. It's freaking me out to not go do those things that I feel need to be done. But that kind of goes back even to like recognizing like her, what do they call those 5 love languages books, right? Like hers is without a doubt quality time, and like that. But that quality time doesn't have to be doing anything, right? Like for me, it's going to be more acts of service because I'm like, oh, I need to do something for you to show you that I love you, appreciate you, affirm you, right? And then, but she's not like that. Like it would be like she would rather be like, hey, let's just be together. We don't even have to do anything structured, like let's just be together. Like even if that's us being together, doing laundry while we're watching a Christmas movie, like that's, I think that's what's going to happen today. We're going to just do laundry all day and watch
Mhm.
every Christmas movie
Sounds
available.
good. Sounds like a good day.
And then I'm going to make Isaac, who's sitting over here behind us,
Mhm.
he's going to go to the office and clean all the baseboards.
That sounds good. Put him to work. Yeah.
Just kidding. He's not going to have to do it. But not today.
Mm.
He can't drive yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you got to start somewhere, right?
So
Yeah.
that's right. So ending this episode here, which this is all really good stuff and really convicting to me, honestly. Like, what's your favorite Christmas movie ever?
That's a hard question. I wish you didn't ask it. I don't know. I always feel like there's too much pressure on it. Like if you pick the wrong one, people like judge you for your Christmas movie thoughts. I don't know. Like I was listening to a podcast the other day. It was an Oklahoma City Thunder podcast, and I think they picked Home Alone, Elf, and Christmas Story were their top three.
Okay.
And like,
okay, so picking out of those three,
I would say like I don't think about Home Alone. Like I don't think about it and think like this is the greatest Christmas movie. But we just watched it the other night and it's a really good movie. It's funny.
It's funny.
You know, my daughter's almost 4, and I mean, you can say slapstick comedy probably is timeless.
Yeah.
But she was kind of like partially engaged through most of it. And we'd point out, oh, there's Christmas lights. But then when the bad guys start coming in there and Kevin is like dropping
the last 10 minutes.
When the paint can came off and smacked the first guy in the face, she started laughing. And then when the paint can came off and hit the other guy in the face and knocked him down, she just lost it. She just thought it was the funniest thing. And every time, he'd stand on the nail coming up the stairs and fall back. So I think probably at this point, and I reserve the right to change it between now and next year, I'd say probably Home Alone. It's a pretty good one.
That's
what about you?
Out of those three, I would say Christmas Story.
Yeah,
I think that's funny, but then there's just like this kind of nostalgia. I didn't grow up in the 50s. I'm not, some of the people look at me thinking that. Yeah, they think that. But yeah, I don't know. Just I love the way the movie's shot. I love the scenes. I love I think the comedy in it's very very funny. As well. And so but those are three good ones. I was definitely top three. For sure. I would say for me as well. But
one quick thing. I know we're over 40 minutes here, but I'm going to put you on the spot since you put me on the spot.
Yes.
Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
I hear this thing. It is very controversial, and I haven't watched that movie. Is it a Christmas movie? No. Was it released at Christmas? And are there Christmas themes in it?
Split
absolutely.
Now, yeah,
absolutely there are. But I would say no.
I think it's hilarious that people get so worked up about it.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a Christmas movie. There were people on the podcast like commenting, "How'd you leave out Die Hard? It happened at a Christmas party." I don't know. Seen the movie? Don't think it's a Christmas movie.
Right.
So sorry if you're very angry that at 42 minutes. We denied that Die Hard's a Christmas movie. Let us know what you think.
I know. I need to go back and watch it. I guess it's been
a long
35
time.
Years since I've seen that movie.
I don't think I've seen that movie in a long time.
It's
good. I know there's like 6 different spinoffs that maybe aren't as good, but I know the first one was good.
Yeah.
So it was a good movie, not a Christmas movie.
Yeah, man. Well, thank y'all for joining us today. Let's remember that we want to keep Christ in Christmas, like you said. Sorry to be cliche as we close out the thing, but like that is something that we definitely want to do and be intentional, as we've said in our last series, just about spending time with your wife, with your kids, making sure that we're doing things that really matter and enjoy it, man. Like, don't make it stressful. Like, enjoy it. Just have fun, with it. That's what it's supposed to be. Try to think back to when you're a kid, all the fun and excitement that surround the season. As an adult, like, get back there, like figure it out, like just make it happen. And I think go watch the end of Scrooged with Bill Murray's talking to the camera. Like, get pumped up.
It's a good movie.
For the next,
I watched it not too long ago. There's more language in it than I remember.
Yeah, don't watch it with your children.
I was going to say, I hope you're not telling them to watch it with their kids.
Don't watch that with your kids. That is not.
Bill Murray doesn't do a ton of stuff that would be acceptable for kids.
That is
really good
that's
actor.
True. Maybe Garfield when he was the voice, but other than that, I'd say don't watch Scrooge with your family. That's for sure. And so make sure you check out our social media stuff: Lost Boys Found Fathers, Instagram, X, Facebook. And look for my books, Where Books Are Sold. That will be done. And Every Little Thing, 6 Small Steps to Perfect Peace. Thank y'all for joining us again. Let's not be lost. Let's be found in Him.